Hi folks, hope everyone's well today. Today I'm going to talk about a follow-up to the last video, which was working out our depreciation in this waterfall way. So today we're going to look at a new way of doing it that saves a lot of space. In this example, space wasn't really a problem because we've only got 10 periods. But if you've got a 5-year monthly model, you're going to have 60 periods, and the 60 periods mean you need 60 rows. If you're doing it several times for different things, maybe a book depreciation versus a tax depreciation, then you're going to be repeating those 60 rows. So what we're going to do here is use what we call a reverse ticker to condense this waterfall into one line. So the one line for our depreciation will be in here, but we need one more bit of information in order to be able to calculate the depreciation. I'm going to use a couple of functions that I'm not going to go into the detail here. I'll be putting up videos on them soon. Those are sum product and offset. The first step is to reverse the depreciation profile, where the reverse ticker gets its name. So we've got the profile above in row 21, and we're just going to flip it around so that it reads backwards. So period 10 will come first, and period 1 at the end. There's a few ways you could do this using offset or index. I'm going to choose to index, so equals index, in my profile, and we're going to index by the maximum value of the counter, which just tells me how many periods I have, minus the period I'm in, plus 1. So if I press Control Enter there, we can see that the depreciation profile has reversed. If I just change some of these numbers just to prove it's reversed, when they're all 20s it doesn't work so well. But there we can see the 10, the 20s, a 10 and a 5. So just exactly flipped around. Control Z to undo. So we can see why this works. If I just pull out the last part of this formula and put it in above, we can see that as we go along we're indexing by a reducing number. So the max is always 10, we're subtracting the period we're in, and then we have to add 1, otherwise we'll go from 9 down to 0. So with that profile reversed, we're going to use a sum product to work out the depreciation. So I've left this waterfall example below, and a good one to look at is this 4,000. So to get this 4,000, if we were trying to calculate it in a oneer, is the 15,000 capex times the period 2 depreciation plus the 5,000 capex multiplied by the period 1 depreciation. So that's where the sum product comes in. We are doing a sum of two products. The problem here is that Excel doesn't have a formula, a function, that can do it in this crossing over manner. But if we flip one of them round, what we're going to do is we're going to see the 15 times this number and the 5 times this. So we're no longer crossing over, and that is where a sum product does work. So in my visual example here, if I just press F2 on this second one, so this sum product is exactly what I'm trying to do. It's going to give me the 15 times the 20 and the 5 times the 20. Usually when you're out of sum product, the ranges line up nicely, so it's really obvious what's being multiplied together. But in this example, the sum product doesn't care if these ranges are next to each other, on the same page, or anything. So as I tab along here, we see the blue range grows to the right, and the orange range grows to the left. So this is hard-coded, and every formula is slightly different. So this is a pretty bad practice way of doing it, but that movement of those two ranges is exactly what we're going to try and create. So that's what we're going to try and recreate. And to do that, we need our sum product, Now the first term is just the capex, but we need the range to grow. So if I put in the colon here, it completes my J18 range. And I can lock the column so that we always stay at J and the range grows. And the second term, we need to be growing backwards from the end. And to do that, we need an offset function. And we're going to offset from the last period, and we're going to come back. So as we go through the different options within the offset, we're not interested in moving rows or columns or height, but we do need the width. And the width is growing backwards to the left, which means we need a negative width. And the width itself is just our counter. So I can close my brackets there, Control Enter, and there's our depreciation. So matching the visual example and also matching below. I will just put my minus back in so that they're all negative. So one thing to touch on. So one thing that I would do differently in a normal model is when you have way more periods, this reference here at the end of my depreciation is likely to be off the page. It won't be visible. So when I start here and press F2, there's nothing to indicate that row 26 is being used. It's quite obvious here because we're in a short formula, but if this was longer for whatever reason, it's just not that transparent. So what I would normally do is offset from J, but now we do need to bring in the columns part of the offset function. So I'm going to use offset to get me from J along to S, where we start building our range backwards. So to get from J to S, we need to offset by 9 columns, which, like we did before, I'll use the max of my counter minus 1. So that's always going to just be 10 minus 1, and that's going to start us at the end. So if I apply that, nothing changes in the numbers, but it's just a slightly more robust way, more transparent way that I can see exactly which ranges are being used. So that's it for the reverse ticker. A very neat way of reducing the amount of space you need. Instead of one row for every period, we're down to one row to reverse the profile, one row for the depreciation, and that's it. Thanks very much for watching. I'm Duke, and I'll speak to you soon.